9 games that he actually kicked goals, he managed 2 or more. And that's 50 metres. Can you believe that is 50 metres?
Don't think there was a chance to play on that occasion.
I think it was 3 centimetres. He moved his foot there. And
seriously, so that's the one that will rile.
Welcome to Little Birdie Podcast, powered by puntingform.com.au and topsport.com.au. I'm your host, Scoot, and I'm joined by MG, Mark Goodwill, the kid, MG, and Darcy Spinks. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Nico. Good to be here. Show number 2.
Yeah, you're a bit more up and about. You've laid off the Prozac.
Yeah, you told me to be the straight man first week and got some feedback, so we'll just see how we go for it.
Up and about?
Up and about a little.
Extra shot in the coffee.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, so no, that's not true.
That's probably what you need then. What about you, Darcy? How's your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. I definitely drink coffee. I need coffee, or else I wouldn't be awake right now. Yeah, my weekend was good. Just a few drinks with the friends. Went out for dinner a lot. And yeah, we're back.
Good life.
Spied you at the Osborne rooftop?
Yes. I was there on Saturday night. It was good fun.
Into Sunday morning?
No. I can't do late nights. I struggle for the week. But it was good. I did have an incident. 2 drinks were spilled onto my lap, and I was walking around like icy cold all night. So that was fun, but you know, it was all right.
And we're a bit of foodies here. So Ho Chi Mama in the city. It's a new restaurant.
Yes, new restaurant. They launched a restaurant in October in Richmond, and they just launched another one in the CBD on Saturday night. So I went there. Literally the best vegetarian pad thai I've ever had in my life.
Someone's
so get around it.
Or shares.
No, I'm honestly.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Honestly,
just raw galore.
I'm so fussy. Like, I'm the worst person when it comes to food. I can never decide, but I really liked that. So you have to try it.
Going to have to get a sponsor board behind Darcy soon to start putting up all the stickers.
What about you, Mark? Do you have a pad thai at home watching the women's football?
No, I didn't. No, I did get local pizza.
Yum. That's right.
Yeah.
Little shout out, little plug.
Beauty about the pizza is you can back it up on the Sunday.
Yeah, I like that.
So after the horse sales, Nick told me we'd go to the horse sales for an hour or two.
How was that?
Meet some people, meet and greet. And
we tipped a couple in. 5
hours later, we're looking for an Uber home. So that's how we roll at Little Birdie.
Yeah, that was good fun. We saw a couple of interesting characters on the punt and trainers and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, we bumped into, I think the guy that syndicates Profiteer. So we gave him a little bit of an interview. We'll post that up later, but they've got the favourite, the hot pot, in the slipper. So
yeah, it's good. Yeah, we're invited out by Roll the Dice syndicates, and we spent a bit of time with Lee and a couple of his owners, and they were trying to buy some horses. So we got some good footage. Out there. Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, it's thirsty work. Yeah, but that's okay. The bar was fully stocked. So met plenty of jockeys and trainers and stuff. So the word's got around for Little Birdie. So a lot of people are interested in what we're doing. A lot of people looking for airtime, saying when am I coming on? So we were taking names for that.
Yeah,
that's good.
So
that's what you want.
We might rotate a couple of trainers and into some of the shows. I'm sure they can be quite entertaining.
Yes. Our only error for the day is we didn't take Darcy out with us.
No, there was a lot of where's Darcy? So I was like, hi Nick, hi Mark, where's Darcy?
That's right. When
I'll be there next time.
So it's very interesting feedback we're getting on Darcy of how we got her onto the show. How can we afford her?
When can we get a table with Darcy at the races? Can we race a horse with Darcy?
Yes.
Oh, look.
A lot of that sort of chat.
Yeah, so actually Lee got a bright idea out there that he thought he might get a syndication together for females only. I think he was doing it. It might be headed up by yourself. So there's another plug you might be able to add to your board.
Yeah, there you go.
In future weeks.
That sounds so funny. And you didn't buy a horse?
Luckily, no.
Yeah, we were underbidders on a few at about the 150,000. Lucky they went for about 300,000 or 400,000. So we didn't have to. It was a cheap day, about 6 or 8 years each, and that was it. So we got out cheap.
Yeah, we haven't got a horse yet, but the longer this goes, there's a lot of horse sales to come for the rest of the year, and who knows? Even our good mate John Kelton, who's just announced that he'll be part of the Moonee Valley stream. He's a really good judge of tried horses, so who knows? We might jump in a tried horse, but there's plenty of time for all that. But we're here to talk sport. We're here to talk AFL and NRL, and we're going to talk more about the futures. But how lucky is Mark Goodwill? He tips up Brisbane Lions for the flag, and then Joe Danaher comes out in a practice match. It's only a practice match, fair enough, but he kicks 4 goals. You just got the Midas touch, don't you?
No, we won't take too much notice of the pre-season form.
It's the first time Joe's been up and about for God knows how long, and you've announced that the Brisbane Lions are the team, and he's that extra piece of the puzzle from the first episode.
I did send him a text in the morning just to make a small statement. So it was good. Him and Hipwood shared 8 goals between them, I think. Nice solid hit out for him. It's good to see him up and about, and we'll see how he gets to round 1, what shape.
It's interesting. We might put a graphic up on screen, and it's the AFL Scratch Max scores, and we're going to talk about how much you read into pre-season form. And for everyone listening at home, there's a couple of surprise, I guess, upsets there, and there's some real grim scores. Notably North Melbourne, who are favourite for the wooden spoon. They've got absolutely trounced, nearly 100 points to St Kilda. That's really ugly times there. And the other sort of cellar dweller is Adelaide. They've been trounced as well by 9 or 10 goals to Port Adelaide, little crosstown derby there. So, Mark, what do you read into these sort of form lines? This is a Hawthorn supporter. I thought it was fake news because here at 3/4 time, I checked the scores in the Western Bulldogs game, and I'm thinking, Hawks are going to be down by about 40 points, and it was only 4 points or something like that. And I actually thought we nearly won the game, but clearly we didn't, as you kindly reminded me yesterday.
Yeah, Nico put in the run sheet that Hawthorn had beaten the Bulldogs in the.
I was just trying to claim one early days.
He was on to you.
Yeah, he was trying to get an early W on the board. It wasn't to be. So you were good to 3/4. Just ran out of steam.
Yeah.
The pre-season form, I just think obviously it's a lot lighter this year. So they've actually this week is their proper hit out. Their only hit out. Last week was a scratch match. I don't think you can take too much notice. I know you said before that most of the teams are running to form. I think there was a draw, maybe only one upset that people wouldn't have expected. But just with managed minutes, players playing in different positions, trying different structures, I just think they're trying to
trick shots and
get miles into the legs and get them injury free through to round 1. So I think the camp. So I wouldn't take too much notice of the pre-season form. Although if Hawthorn do win their practice match this week, next week Nick will probably have his scarf on. So
I might find out where it is and pop down. It could be the only win that we get for quite some time. But we've lost one of our hosts from the later part of or the back end of last year. OB, he works in the AFL ops in the Stephen Hawking wing, I'll call it. Or it's a ward. I don't think everything's sweet there, but OB tells me he's on fatherhood duties every Wednesday, and that's when we record the show. So he's given himself a scratching there, but it's after a little bit of peppering from me because I've got a bee in my bonnet, and you're not really keen with this 50-metre rule, and it doesn't sound like many people are, but there's a new rule, and you have to stand still on the man of the mark as a man of the mark. And if you deviate left or right, it's a 50-metre penalty. So the AFL are trying to create this corridor where whoever takes the mark can then move the ball quicker. It's causing a fair bit of conjecture and and a lot of talk on Twitter and across different radio programs and a lot of banter. But the AFL are starting to roll out a bit of I'd call it a propaganda campaign to try and push it, and they've even wheeled out Harris Andrews from the Brisbane Lions to sort of talk about it as of today. So we're going to put something up on the screen now. And again, we are a podcast, but you should tune into our YouTube channel and you'll see all the graphics that we've got. And it's from Josh Fraser, the ex-Collingwood ruckman, who was coach of the Northern Bull Ants. And he tweeted, "I'm convinced you are better off not manning the mark. The penalty's too big if you are wrong." And there's some footage from an AFL practice match, I think it was West Coast and Fremantle, where there was a slightest deviation inside forward 50, probably 45-degree angle, 40 metres out. And then all of a sudden that player's on the goal line. So I think Josh has sort of nailed in one here. All of a sudden there's no value in standing the man of the mark anymore. So what do you think about that, Mark?
I think there's a few factors in play here. It's like the AFL are under pressure for their overall product to increase scoring in the game.
For more ads and revenue?
No, I think more the spectacle for the fans. The game's driven by the fans. Obviously last year, COVID took that out of it, but in previous years, it's driven by the fans and bums on seats. And people want a good product, and it's the same with like cricket introducing 2020. They want to match it against other sports, and AFL is no different. Even though it is a dominant sport within this country, they still need to get their fans happy with their product, and so they're under pressure all the time to make the game better. And unfortunately, the coach's job with the players and their
Win
structures
matches.
is to win matches, get into finals and win premierships. And history shows that premierships are won on defences. So that's why the players and the structures are put in place for that reason. So it's a constant battle between what the AFL can do with the rules and the players and the teams and the coaches trying to win premierships. And that friction is always going to happen.
What about the rule itself, though?
Well, I think the rule is going to be tough for anything for the fans early and the players to adjust, and there's going to be angst on it because a 50-metre penalty is harsh.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the forward half, it virtually gives away a goal. And so the most defence is happening, the closer you get to goal.
Yeah.
And so the players are under pressure to protect that goal mouth. And so if they make one little error, and this rule, stepping off the mark, will be an instant goal virtually, anywhere from 60 metres out or 70 metres out basically gives away the goal.
There's a couple of problems that I've got with it. I think the umpires react too slow to it, and the players already run off and gone. So there's the bloke on the mark is standing there like a stale bottle of piss, or in fact there'll be no one on the mark, and they'll just all zone off. So it'll be probably counterintuitive to what they're trying to do. So it'll force teams to flood back more and stay off their man. And then for me, the real big problem is what happens in the final 2 minutes of the match, where it becomes keepings off in a zone. If players are taking the mark and then you're not allowed to make this tiny little error that's going to cost you 50 metres, you'll have no one running, standing the mark at all, and everyone will just zone off, which is crazy because taking a mark and going back and having a set shot and taking a mark and getting field position is sort of the fabric of the game. So the game is going to potentially look nothing like what it used to, and it's going to turn into a closer version of soccer and a possession game. And I actually think it'll go the other way with the scoring. Because as you say, the coaches work their way around the tactics.
Yeah, it's interesting, like how the AFL come about, what meetings and everything they sit in. I know they get different forums, and they get players and coaches and everyone in to give their.
But do they?
Well, they say they do. Ex-coaches and ex-players to kind of give it. But the problem is when they create a rule, they've got 18 teams, 18 coaches, and 18 strategists that seem to outpoint them at every turn.
Yeah.
Because history shows the more they've mucked around the rules in the last decade, the scoring keeps falling. So what they're trying to do is actually not getting a positive result for it. And I think what you said, especially later in games and stuff like that, keepings off's going to be much easier because the person on the mark's stranded, which will dilute scoring. So it doesn't have a positive impact on the scoreboard. I don't believe.
Yeah, I think it's the rotation still, and that fitness fatigue isn't happening, and I think that'd change the scoring. But I don't know, maybe it's the AFL Players Association that are pushing back on the rotations and injuries and all that sort of thing. But I think that'd be a better way to tackle. If they want more goals, I'd limit the rotations first, rather than this seems like the fabric of the game getting ripped apart, and I think it's going to backfire on them. But it seems like they've already made their mind up, given how much Gill's on the front foot, and all of a sudden all these umpires and Harris Andrews now coming in.
They've certainly got on the front foot in the last 24 hours. The stuff we were talking about in the earlier meeting, we've got video from the umpire on the AFL website this morning explaining the rules with the umpiring coach. They've wheeled out Harris Andrews as a player's version of, it's not that bad, and the players have adjusted to it, yet there was plenty of incidents shown on the news reels that there was goals coming directly from it. And you can see the frustration on the players. Bontempelli just dropping his head when he knew he took half a stride.
Yeah.
Well, it is ridiculous because it's not how you've grown up playing the game. What I think the fans get frustrated from is the rules to the game are exactly the same every quarter. So how do you explain a 10-goal scoring quarter or a 30-goal scoring game compared to when teams kick 5 goals each? And if there's no weather in play and they're playing by the same rules, then it comes down to the coaching structures and the style that the players want to play. The rules aren't changing to increase the scoring. So I've always been a believer. I think the AFL's just got to leave the game alone a bit more. It's been fine for 140 years. They've played around with it a lot in the last decade, and just let the players
and the coaches evolve,
play the game.
And then Gill came out and said that all of a sudden we're seeing 120 plus scores on the board and stuff like that, but there's no pressure. This is scratch matches, so you can't compare that to premiership points and deeper into the season. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's a rubbish comment.
I think two things this year that the AFL's got in favour from last year is the longer quarters. come back in. We were talking earlier about the red time is advantage to a lot of maybe the better teams, the fitter players certainly, where the scoring increases as quarters go on. So red time, there seems to be a lot more scoring on average if you work out each quarter. So the scoring will increase with the games going back from 16 to 20-minute quarters. And so I just think they should just leave the game alone a bit, and get the fans back there and have less frustration, because they're taking the focus off the game being back and the crowds being at the game, and all they'll talk about is the rules. And so especially if this rule now starts costing games for teams, and I don't think, the AFL seems to just want to be in the press regardless, whether it's good or bad.
Well, I thought it was a marketing stunt. I thought the rules are so ridiculous that they've just wheeled it out for people to start talking about AFL, which has worked, and I want it buried. Yeah, well, that's the approach they take, I guess. They just want any promotion to get in the game, and obviously with the season only 3 weeks away, they've decided to roll out these rules, and that's what they're piggybacking on for their marketing at the moment. But I hope well, we say this every year, I hope they don't bring it in, but it looks like it is going to be.
Oh, so it hasn't been implemented yet?
Not yet.
Just a thought.
No, so the AFL will always troll things.
Right.
In the pre-season games, and they'll get feedback, and that's why they do that for the discussion in the public, and they expect a lot of negative feedback because there's always two. People don't like change as a rule.
Yeah, right.
But this one looks like an absolute howler. It'll affect you because one of your biggest edges is your totals, and so you'll be, treading really warily for the first couple of rounds until you see what sort of effect that is. And we'll probably talk about it with Nick Tedeschi, and you even spoke about it to me last year with the NRL. They changed the rules, and all of a sudden the scores were starting to run up. It was a cash cow for you, and just to try and find those edges early before the rest of the market sort of clues on is what you're trying to do. But it can go both ways, can't it?
Yeah, it was good. I've never really concentrated on the rugby league until last year when the guy I work with had a league model, and they just couldn't keep up with the rule change. Everything was out of whack. Same will happen with the AFL this year. The bookies, I know how they go about their process and stuff like that, and they won't adjust early. So I'm looking forward to the first month of totals because I know that there'll be good edges to be found. I'd rather leave rules like these cheap 50s, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start cracking into what's on for the rest of the show. We're going to go deeper into the futures betting. So we covered off the Premiership and the Wooden Spoon last week, and glided over all the clubs' chances. But we're going to go into the top 4, the top 8 markets. Who's going to make and miss that? And we're going to talk about the Coleman Medal. It's not really a market that Mark plays a lot in. There's a lot of percentage on the board, and it's usually later in the year that punters start to operate in those sort of markets. And then Top Rope Tedeschi's back, the Hall of Fame. It was Juppie last week. We've had another couple of nice little rorts pop up on our Twitter feed, so make sure you check those out. Some funny stuff there. And then he's going to go through his best season head-to-head matchups and some team total wins. And we're going to look at the top sport markets. And Das, when you're betting on the weekend, when you're not at the Osborne or Ho Chi Mama eating delicious vegetarian Thai, who are you betting with?
Topsport.com.au. Family owned and run for 30 years. Bet with a bookmaker you can trust, and please gamble responsibly.
We're going to take a break and talk AFL next. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast, a unique look into the world of sports betting through the eyes of professional gamblers. I'm your host, Scoot, and I've got MG and Darcy with me, and we're going to talk AFL futures. We touched on Premiership and Wooden Spoon markets in episode 1, and now we're going to have a look at who's going to make the finals, who's going to go deep into September, and who's going to win the Coleman Medal. So, Das, we might have a look at the first market, odds courtesy of topsport.com.au. AFL top 4 market. Who's the favourite there to make the top 4?
So, AFL to make the top 4. So, we have Geelong at $1.60, Richmond at $1.60, Brisbane at $1.90, Port Adelaide at $2.30, West Coast at $2.50, and Western Bulldogs at $3.50. What do we think?
Well, MG, there's multiple teams here that can make the top 4, hence why the odds are so short. But run us through who you think, or just go top to bottom here for us, what you think of the pricing there.
Yeah, so with the top 4 and top 8 markets, I'm not sure how others go about it, but I like to go through and price every game up for the year, and that's how I come up with the season wins. Obviously fills in your order of the top 4 and top 8. And then you attach a price to it of what you think is either overs or unders, or something that's around the value if you do like them. So Geelong and Richmond, obviously 1 and 2 in the premiership betting. So around that $1.60 mark, I'm definitely not going to talk any supporters out that like them. Strong chances for the top 4. Around the $1.60 price, I wouldn't tip, but it's not unders, and I'm sure they'll attract a lot of attention in the multis. Mm-hmm. The third pick, I know you're going to say, it's Brisbane again, but obviously my ratings at this stage have just come up with Brisbane as the value for the premiership, so that's going to filter through to the top 4 compared to what the market is. So at the $1.90, if I was having one bet, the $1.90 for Brisbane would be
nearly a lock.
No, not a
moral.
Not a moral, not a lock. But that's where I'd be playing if I was in this market. I like the $1.90 there. Port Adelaide and West Coast, again, wouldn't talk you out of it if you're a supporter of both of those sides. I think they're reasonably priced, but I think obviously with only 4 teams being able to fit in, and if you look and you say, well, who's going to drop out? So if you've got Geelong and Richmond, I think Brisbane are a good price at that $1.90. Then you've only got one more spot left. So if you like Port Adelaide at the $2.30, West Coast at the $2.50, I'm not going to talk you out of it, but I would go the next rung down, which is the Bulldogs. Now, I'm surprised how kind of high they came up in the season wins for me when I went through just individual games. So the beauty about pricing up each individual game and then just towing him up at the end is you don't distort your own prices or the ladder. It is what it is when the model's finished. So the Bulldogs at $3.50 is probably the value. For punters. So if you're a Bulldog supporter out there, remember they were wrapped up in 2019. Probably, as you said, I think you tipped them large, so maybe you stopped them last year. Not sure if you've recommitted this year, although you are looking for a second side when Hawthorn are down the bottom. So maybe the $3.50 is your go, Scoot. Where I think that's the value if I was playing. So I'd play Brisbane at the $1.90 and Bulldogs at the $3.50 for the 4. I don't think I could see, another team could pop up, but I just think the top teams are just too solid for a 7th or 8th team to pop up into that top 4 spot.
Yeah, you're probably right. And the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to, I guess, warm to and see your logic around Brisbane. Guys like Cam Rayner and Hipwood and Danaher and the midfield's just going to supply plenty of the pill down there. So and home ground advantage, I guess that's another big one. And you've got I look at those top 5 sides there, and I look Geelong are going to play a lot of games at the Cattery. Richmond is so good at the MCG. You got Brisbane up at the Gabba. Port Adelaide are dominant over in Adelaide, and then even West Coast. Then they're no easy beats. So they've got really strong home ground advantages at the moment. All those top sides. Yeah,
and you're just talking the difference between generally 12 wins will get you into the 8. So you're generally talking 14, 15 wins get you into the top 4. So you're talking a game or two, and with those strong home ground advantage, the side's got plenty of depth. I just think at the top end, I'd be surprised if out of those 6 teams that someone else made the top 4 this year.
Yeah, and then Darts to miss the top 4.
We have Melbourne Demons at $1.11, GWS at $1.16, St Kilda at $1.18, Collingwood at $1.19, Western Bulldogs $1.29, West Coast $1.51, Port Adelaide $1.59, Brisbane at $1.87, Geelong at $2.25, and Richmond at $2.25.
Any value there, Mark? Or a lot of skinny odds there.
Yeah, the top 4 becomes a bit imbalanced because obviously there's only 4 teams against 14 that miss, so there are a lot of short price favourites. The bookies like this market for multi-reason because a lot of people throw in the miss and just hope that the top 4 or 6 stay true, and they can build up their multis with the $1.20s, $1.25s, and then the bookies only need to get 1 to get them beat. So not a market I normally play in. I'll just stick with a couple of tips to teams to make the top 4. I generally leave the top 4 to miss the top 4 alone, but good for multi punters.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. Next market does.
Then we'll go to AFL to make the top 8. So Richmond and Geelong $1.10, Brisbane $1.20, Port Adelaide and West Coast $1.30, and Western Bulldogs at $1.65.
So Mark, you think that the first few there are locks, don't you? Richmond, Geelong, Brisbane, Port, West Coast, and then the Bulldogs, you're saying. And then you've got a couple of sides that are fighting for the 9th, 10th and 11th spot.
Yeah, so for in future markets, the final eight generally for bookmakers and punters is a high action product all the way through the season, pre-season, and definitely during the season. Final eight's definitely obviously where it is to make the finals, stuff like that. So, again, I just think the gap's widening between the top and the bottom sides. Hence why some of these teams are starting short. But again, for multi-punters, to make the final eight, I think teams like Geelong at $1.10, Brisbane at $1.20, there'll be a lot of load ups in the multis this year, which is a bit reason why they are short. The bookies aren't giving too much away, but if you can pick 3 or 4 sides and then you like them into something else, it provides good value for the punters. So yeah, I couldn't say the top 4, the top 5 sides there look pretty ominous. But I would say, again, I think the Bulldogs at $1.65 would be...
To make the 8.
Yeah, my made play there. I think I think they're a side on the up, and just with their draw, how it's come out, to get the 12 wins, I think they've got 2 or 3 wins above that. So the $1.65 seems good value. I would have thought they were more around the $1.50, maybe even $1.45 mark, with how I've priced up the season. And I think for the bottom part of the 8s, I think it's going to be only a couple of wins. I think Collingwood I prefer over St Kilda for anyone looking out there. And then the group that I would call, I guess, the 9th, 10th, 11th, GWS, Melbourne and Carlton. Not going to talk anyone out of the final 8 if you like them, especially a team like Carlton, if they can get the injured players back they got early. Definitely a side on the up and would be looking for a final spot. Melbourne keep teasing. We've got some good feedback on Melbourne supporters during the week. And GWS, I just think we've discussed them with how many players they've lost. Obviously, Jeremy Cameron now, how much offence did they lose?
They've got Hogan.
Yeah, well, he's injured at the moment.
Big question mark over him.
Yeah, so I couldn't tip you into any of them, but they do provide good value if you can find 1 or 2 of them that aren't expected to make the 8 that can jump in.
So you basically, top 4, you're saying that Brisbane Lions are the one that the bookies have missed, and then for the top 8, it's the Western Bulldogs that are the ones that the bookie have missed too. So
if I was having 2 picks, and even for multi-punters, I think $1.90 for Brisbane seems... they're flip of the coin odds
top 4,
for the top 4, and I think the Bulldogs...
$1.65.
I think the Bulldogs will,
to make the 8.
Yeah, I think they'll eat 12 wins.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'll play there.
Beautiful. What about next one, Darcy?
So we have the Coleman Medal. Tom Lynch for $6. Tom Hawkins, $7. Charlie Dixon, $9. Jeremy Cameron, $9. Joe Danaher, $10. Josh J. Kennedy, $10. Charlie Cameron, $18. Jack Revolt, $21. And Eric Hipwood, $31.
A lot of fat in this market early, I would have thought. So shout out to Tristan there. The bookies are keeping this one safe, and it's a funny market that we've sort of touched upon earlier. You don't really bet early, and it's more when the season starts to crank up and
see how they go.
Yeah, or if one of the big names sort of falls away with injury. Josh Kennedy's under a bit of a cloud with his calf, Mark. But
I think the Coleman runs behind the Brownlow, but in similar betting patterns. I think everyone likes to have a little play at the start of the year and stuff, but it's very form driven. And so once the season gets underway, people like to form their opinions as well. So, if someone can get out of the blocks, then, there's a lot of fluctuations in these markets as well, especially with injuries and stuff like that. There could be 1 or 2 starting late. You've touched on Hogan, who would be somewhere, of value. He's not going to start. Kennedy doesn't look like he's going to start the year, and he's one of the top picks. Looking through the market, it's a bit unusual what we said before. The top 10 in the betting, 8 of the top 10 are from 4 different teams.
Crazy, isn't it?
So
the rich are getting richer.
Yeah. So, and to think a little stat for you so Hawkins won the Coleman Medal last year on 49 goals, and the year before's winner was Jeremy Cameron on 76. And so now Jeremy Cameron goes to the
same side.
So on recent form, they've got the last 2 Coleman medal winners in the one team, and they've got a bloke called Dangerfield that's won a Brownlow, who looks like playing down there as well. So good luck to some of the defences stopping that. I've come up with it. Again, it's not, as you said before, it's not a market I'd play in, especially pre-season. And I think most of the punters tend to gravitate as the year goes on. In recent years, they love Buddy Franklin, Josh Kennedy, these kind of big names that get in the market. If I was going to have a play in the market, I think of the top selections, I'd go Jeremy Cameron at the $9. On the purely fact, I'm not potting Hawkins, but he is getting another year on.
Yep.
And I'm just not sure how their setup's going to go. So I'd rather back a bloke like Jeremy Cameron, who's in his prime.
Yeah.
I think he'll slot straight in.
Get the second defender.
It's going to be dangerous, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see who plays deeper, or they're going to rotate a little bit.
I think they'll rotate. There's no reason not to. Hawkins is fine getting up the ground. They'll just try and put the defenders in a bit of a spin, I think.
Yep.
The thing is with Jeremy Cameron is he can get up the ground a lot quicker. He can also get back to goal. He gets a lot of cheap goals over the back.
He does too.
Not by cheating or anything. He's just quicker than most. Yeah. So I think if you're playing at the top end of the table, Jeremy Cameron would be one. And the value, the best value you could find going down the list. Not going to tip Joe Danaher for you. But I am going to tip maybe his sidekick that did kick 4 goals in the scratch match as well. I know we're not taking much notice of it, but shows that they're just gelling well when they can kick 8 apiece. So I'm going to go Hipwood at the $31 for a bit of value.
And interesting, because Charlie Cameron was sort of leading it early last year. He's going to be busy. He'll be like bees to honey there with Danaher and Hipwood to crumb off.
Yes. Yep. And
then Rayner. It's going to be a hive of activity in the Lions forward line. But yeah, Eric Hipwood, he does surprise me at how big a price he is, $31, especially when you've got, depending on who gets the
It'll be interesting to see how they set up. I see the Brisbane forward line setting up a bit the same way as Geelong. I think both Danaher and Hipwood are similar type of players, and I think they'll rotate between full forward and centre half forward. There'll be a lot of circling, running back to goal and stuff like that. So if Hipwood can kick straight, again, he'll get the second defender, I've no doubt, if Danaher's playing. So he'll be afforded that luxury. So maybe at $31, he's worth a little investment.
And he's got bags in him too. He can kick big scores of goals. But if he can keep his accuracy under...
I think Brisbane are going to be a high offence unit this year, especially at home. And Geelong could be as well with that forward line. So maybe there might be some shootouts. Maybe we might see 100 goal. Will we ever see 100 goals kicked again this season?
Well, if the 50-metre rule gets passed, I'm tipping we will.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All right, that'll wrap us up for the futures betting. So we're starting to really narrow down on a couple of teams there. The bookies may have missed Brisbane for the top 4, the Western Bulldogs for the top 8, and them and Geelong look like they're going to be the big challengers. And we're going to play around Eric Hipwood and Jeremy Cameron to win the Coleman early, but we'll keep tabs on that. And as the season progresses, we'll get Mark's thoughts on a week-to-week basis. He's not going anywhere. We've locked him in for the full year. I tried to sign him for a 5-year deal, but I couldn't quite get that one over the line. But we'll cross now we'll take a break and we'll come back with the Hall of Fame with Top Rope Tedeschi, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast, a unique look into the world of sports betting. It's unique because we all love a bet and we have a bet, and I've got some of the best guys in the business. One of them is Mark the Kid MG. He was a bookie and now he's a punter and he's on the good side now. He's with the Little Birdie team. We've got Darcy Spinks.
Hey guys.
Who moonlights as a food taster for pretty much any restaurant in Melbourne. She's a gun for hire, so if you're launching a restaurant, make sure you give Darcy a call. She'll be there to give you a nice solid critique. But it's our favourite segment of the week. It is Hall of Fame time with Top Rope Tedeschi. Welcome to the show, Top Rope.
Great to be back. Good to get over the first week nerves and back for week 2.
I doubt there was any nerves, but Anthony Jupp, Yulong Jupp. A bit of a throw off the Yulong Jupp. He backs more winners than anyone I know, and he can find lots of rorts. And his rort that got him into the Hall of Fame, posing as a Channel 4 producer, calling NBC to figure out what time the anthem would run for the Super Bowl, goes down in history. It's on our Twitter feed, so make sure you check out at Little Birdie TV. We've also changed our Twitter handle and our Instagram. We've just tidied things up here, and we're having a slight little rebrand. We're still Little Birdie, but you can find us at Little Birdie TV on most of our channels, or if you're on YouTube, Little Birdie Podcast on our YouTube channel, where you can see all our glamorous faces, especially Darcy's. But Top Rope, The Hall of Fame this week. There'll be some contenders. I'd nearly put Stephen Hawking in, given he's proposing this 50-metre penalty rule. And then I'd nearly throw Josh Fraser in as well. Josh Fraser's debunked the 50-metre rule in a tweet, in a heartbeat. He's basically saying that you can zone off, you don't have a man on the mark, and whoop, all of a sudden it's hacked. The 50-metre rule should be abolished. But who's in your crosshairs this week for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I don't know who any of those people are, so they definitely weren't in consideration. We've got a ripper of a Hall of Famer this week. Don't know his first name, don't know his last. Just a bloke called Macca.
Macca sounds like a good bloke.
Macca's mates fired off a video before the last at Flemington last week, showing that Macca had the first 3 legs of the quad last week at Flemington. Now, anyone who saw Flemington racing knew it was a complete strip out for the punters last week. But he had he had 2 by field, and he had 1 going for him in the last.
What a day to take.
Boy, was it a good one. It was. He got the 300 to 1 shot in there. He got the 40 to 1 shot in there. When you play field by field, you couldn't ask for a better run than that. His quote going into the last was, "Ride or die, motherfucker." And you know what? Declan Bates certainly did that. He was 1 out, Chelar, 47% of the quad, 200 on, collected a cool $250,000. And
Great.
Look, he was the absolute Hall of Famer, the real winner of the day. The only folks who might have come off better than him by the end of the night was the good folks down at the good ballerinas down at South Melbourne. But other than that, he was an absolute champion and a definite inclusion for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Top Rope just sent me the video off air before, and we'll try and post it to the Little Birdie Twitter account. It's something to behold. Macca, he looked like he'd had a fair few drinks leading into the last leg of the quaddie, and heaven forbid what would have happened when Shaylo sailed across the line. Have you...
I think he celebrated the 300 to 1 shot in the second leg. It looked like it.
Ride or die, motherfucker.
Well, he was entitled because once the 300 to 1 shot got up in the second leg field, he had the third, so he was alive. Yeah. So he's got like over an hour to celebrate before the last leg comes around. And then it was crunched as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 550 into 350 or something? And it won like a good thing too.
It did.
Yeah, so... Have you got any footage of the celebration?
I'm not sure if we have a mission statement yet, guys. I'm not sure if Little Birdie has a mission statement, but ride or die, motherfucker, needs to be in consideration.
It's got to be the clubhouse leader. We might have to get Macca in on the show. He looks like a good bloke. And have you ever met a Macca that's not a good bloke?
Got a few Maccas. Have their moments.
Oh, well done, Macca. Landing a $250,000 collect in the quaddie is definitely Hall of Fame worthy. So we'll have to get you to send in a shot of your mug and maybe the winning ticket. And we might even send you out some Bookie Smash merch. That definitely sounds like a Bookie Smash. You've got the tote there and the quaddie. Wow.
Might even get him in.
Yeah, we might even get him into the show. But we've been copying a little bit of fan mail to try and do some more quaddie. So we might start a little quaddie segment on Bet Doctor coming up. But we'll take a quick break and then we'll talk serious NRL rugby league stuff with Top Rope Tedeschi in just a minute. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast, a unique look into the world of sports betting. I'm your host, Scoot. I've got the Kid MG here and Darcy Spinks. We're having a good time. Because Top Rope Tedeschi's here, and we've had a fill-up on the weekend. South Sydney, they absolutely steamrolled the Dragons. Tedeschi's tipping them from a spoon, and they absolutely tore them apart. It was 46 to bugger all, and you tipped the minus, and didn't it move? Tipped them at -8, and I think last time I checked was -10.5 with about an hour and a half to go. Top Rope, fill up.
Old-fashioned bookie smash there, eh? Really on brand to open up the season. They were a good thing. The bunnies, Dragons no good, and South. Anyone took the minus was in no danger from about the 10-minute mark. It was an absolute steamroller job. They led by 30 odd at halftime. So, good start to the season for the punters, for the subscribers, and good start for our fans who love to see rubbish teams get the absolute bejesus belted out of them.
That's what we clearly like. And speaking of that, Harry Grant, he's been touted as the saviour for the Melbourne Storm with Cam Smith's departure. How's he pulled up, and is that a concern for you now that you're already sort of chips in this early for the Melbourne Storm? What's the update with Harry?
He'll be out for the first month of the year. Got an MCL. It'll be a worry if they didn't have the next best hooker in the comp. So they're replacing the Queensland hooker with the New Zealand hooker. Brandon Smith's there. They'll be sweet as nut. No worries at all.
And what's the other news? Just a little around the grounds in NRL. I see that Matt Tripp and the boys at the Storm are playing buggery with the Broncos' new CEO. They're not letting him go.
That's been a debacle from the get-go. They touted this big interview process for the CEO, and they give it to the guy who didn't get the interview. The Storm are worried that he's going to try and poach Bellamy, probably rightfully so, and they are not letting him go. It was a pretty bad falling out between Tripp and Donaghy. This is more just classic Broncos at the moment. Fall from one ridiculous situation to the next. So, good luck, Brisbane. I don't think he'll be CEO till he sees that he's non-compete.
And what about PVL? Are we going to give him the week off, or is any PVL news? Anything about, media rights, or we'll let that one go through the keeper, will we?
PVL doing a great job. We'll be on Matty Johns, I think, next week. One-on-one interview. I don't know about you, but an hour-long conversation with PVL has got me very, very excited. Hopefully everyone's in bed by the time that shows. It'll be an absolute. But PVL flying, just laying low before the season, and then he'll go bang come next Thursday. Don't worry about the media rights. The NRL's getting plenty.
Now, Top Rope, your NRL futures is it's your wheelhouse, really. You've dropped a season guide that's available in a Little Birdie shop. It's 33 pages. So settle into a GT or a Scotch or whatever tickles your fancy. Be well hydrated when you sit down and digest that one. But you're going to put a couple of tips into the public domain, and you're a giving man. Let's have a look at the NRL regular season wins, and let's see if the punters at home can pull some money out of the Merlihan coffers. Das, the NRL regular season wins. Let's have a look at some of those markets, and we'll get Top Rope's opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Melbourne Storm at $2 and Penrith Panthers at $1.77.
Top Rope?
Yes, season head-to-heads. I love the season head-to-heads. You can often find some good ones to pick off here. Very high in Melbourne this year, very low on Penrith. Penrith had everything break their way last year. There's absolutely no way they could repeat that. Any normal regression will see them drop back to about a 14-win team. I think Melbourne at $2, absolutely giving cash away there to Merlihans. Always been known as generous people. Extremely generous for this one. $2, fill your boots.
Moral there, by the sounds of it. Darcy, this one?
Okay, so then we have Canberra Raiders at $1.77 and Parramatta Eels at $2.
Parramatta last year went 8-1 in close games, one-score games. That's usually a big sign of regression the following year. That, essentially what it's saying is you've had a lot of luck. They usually break about 50-50. Going 8-1, you've probably been overrated. They faded big time in the back end of last year. They've recruited awfully. I think that the Raiders are bound for the top four. I've got them running fourth ahead of Penrith this year. $1.77 against a team who's going to miss the 8. I absolutely love the Raiders, and that's why I reckon that's another gift there from the good folk at Top Sport.
I see a few punters that are chirping away on Twitter, saying that they've taken an early price Canberra to win the title. So that could be worth following there. Next one, does.
Yep, Canterbury Bulldogs at $2 and North Queensland Cowboys at $1.77.
Yeah, I like playing some of these down the bottom end of the table, just trying to find a team on the up. Cowboys have been pretty highly touted this year, new coach, but they've recruited poorly. They were bottom 4 last year. They've got a pretty weak roster for mine. They've got the worst three-quarter line in the comp. The Bulldogs, new coach, new fullback Corey Allen, new halfback Kyle Flanagan, major upgrades. They've got an international winger in Nick Kotrick there. They're a long way from being a good side, Canterbury, but they are a team who you should see a decent-sized bounce from. They kind of strike me as a team who's going to fit right into that 9th to 12th dead man zone there. I think the $2 them is a great price. I think they're a significantly better team than the Cowboys.
And then just for the punters at home who that aren't quite sure of who you support, just show your hand and show your true colours here, Top Rope. Who do you barrack for?
I'm a Bulldogs fan. There's absolutely no a Bulldogs fan, but I'm also, I would say, inarguably their biggest critic. So this is the first positive words I've uttered about the Bulldogs in about 5 years. So I'm a little bit unsure of myself at the moment, but hopes are somewhat high. Not anticipating a wooden spoon run like last year.
I thought I'd just have to clear that one up because you took me by surprise tipping them because I knew you were keen at some stage on the Cowboys last year. Let's zip across to the least season win markets. Who's the favourite there, Darcy?
Yeah, so we have St George Dragons at $4, Brisbane Broncos at $4.40, Canterbury Bulldogs $5.50, Wests Tigers at $6, Cronulla Sharks at $9, NZ Warriors at $15.
The Dragons.
Dragons, please. They were those who have already subscribed probably got a touch better because they've definitely shortened up after the weekend. They've lost all 3 trial matches. Cameron McInnes, their captain and star player, is out for the year with an ACL. They look very, very thin across the park. Their forward pack was manhandled last week. They have really poor talent in the key positions, particularly in the halves. And new coach Anthony Griffin, he's an old school kind of guy. He's not going to be a guy who's going to overcome kind of talent deficits with coaching. I think there's a rather long year. I reckon there's 2 teams that can win it, Dragons and Broncos. I'll be more than happy to take the Dragons at the moment. Back them both for a saver.
And if you could find the Dragons and the Broncos in a season head-to-head, you'd be steaming into the Dragons?
No, I'd be back in the Broncos in the season head-to-head. I've got the Dragons coming last, but I wouldn't want to be riding one of those 2 teams for a fortune this year. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. And then TopSport have also got some season under-over win lines available. They're not quite up on the AFL. Mark was a little bit disappointed, but they've definitely put some up there. So
I love these. They were definitely up last night, the TopSport guys. So I'm sure they'll be back up again today. They've probably just been stung overnight. Yeah, you know the Merlands. I'll take a bet.
Nick's best bet, Stars?
So we have Melbourne Storm over 16.5 at $2. Penrith under 17.5, $1.80. Parramatta Eels under 14.5, $1.73.
Just run us through those ones, top rope.
Like all those 3 there. The Storm just regularly win all those 16 games. They've finished top 2 the last 5 years. The roster has lost Cameron Smith, but they're still very, very good. Hire them. They win lots of regular season games. No worries there. Penrith overrated. 7.5 is a very, very high line. Even the Storm during the heyday really got to a line that big. So I think that is an absolute gift there. I don't think the Panthers are in for a great year. And Parramatta, we've talked about them earlier. Parramatta, well and truly overvalued by the market. They are going to be a fringe 8 side. I think the 14.5 is way too high. The punters are seeming that they're pretty fragile across the park, to be honest. Any injuries, they've got no depth. So more than happy to take on the Eels this year.
And season top try scorer market, similar to, I guess, the leading goal kicker in the AFL. Who's favourite for that one, Darcy, in the market?
Yes, so we have Alex Johnston at $9. We have Maker Sivo at $10. And we have Josh Adokar at $11. And then we have Valentine Holmes at $67. Now, I don't know if I've pronounced everyone correctly there, but I can see a few smirks. But
no, you got very, very close. It's tricky. But top rope, this is an interesting one. Mark sort of talked about before. In the AFL, the goal scorers, we don't really bet on them until we've seen a little bit of form on the board and a couple of rounds in. How do NRL punters play these the top try scorer markets?
This is generally a lottery,
yeah.
And this bet's definitely just a bit of Ric Flair for the punters who want to find an angle of big price. You're kind of betting against a few things, right? You're kind of betting on form, you're betting on a team going well, and you're betting on kind of what position they play. So the wingers nearly always top the try scoring list. It's pretty rare for a fullback to do it. Holmes, the angle with Holmes here is that he is touted to play fullback. He'll likely play on the wing this year. So he's got a great record as a try scorer on a wing. So I think there's a bit of value there. But it's a hard market to attack. You couldn't take single figures of anyone. I think there's value in looking wide and having a small ticket on a big shot.
Yeah, similar to Eric Hipwood. Bit of a stab at a big price, so make sure you don't have probably a full unit bet there. Lower your bet and lower your stake. Top rope, you've been enormous. I can't wait to meet Macca, have a drink with Macca. Love to have a beer with Macca. Remember
Absolutely.
Weekends with Macca? Listening to that as a kid?
You had a troubling childhood, Nicholas. A troubling childhood.
It was pretty average radio. But Tedeschi, if you want to sink your teeth into some great reading and you are a fan of the NRL, Nick Tedeschi's subscription packs are available in a Little Birdie shop under GGOA, the greatest game of all, for $55. It is a must read, and if you like what you've heard there, you must check it out. So they were just a couple of teasers, and he's got prop markets coming out your ears. So if you want to get set for the NRL season, make sure you check it out. Thanks for joining us, Top Rope. Have a good week.
Absolute pleasure, team. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Cool. That's the end of the show, Marcos. It was good to see you have a bit more pep in your step. You're a bit flat when I introduced you.
It's all the coffee I had this morning.
Yeah, but I think episode 2, you're sort of starting to come of age. And
thanks, Nick.
We've got the Brownlow.
Appreciate that.
We've got the Brownlow next week, so we'll talk about the Brownlow medal betting, and we know that that's one of your favourite markets. And then it's only another week away until we've got the real stuff, the AFL. And Nick Tedeschi will talk NRL round 1 next week. They always go off a little bit earlier.
Some more Darcy social stories.
I'm looking forward to it.
What's plans this weekend, Darcy?
Restaurants.
Just a few more events, actually. Sundays, there's a few things on. We're actually hosting an event at Stoke House.
Oh, nice.
Sit down lunch.
Missed our invite there, Nick. Didn't get one.
There's,
I think
next
we're
time,
going to have a
guys.
Stoke House dinner soon in the next couple of weeks. I'll get to meet a partner. Meet each other's partners.
No, we didn't invite Darcy to that one.
Oh, that's a bit awkward, isn't it?
Come on. Don't be like that. I love the Stoke House. But yeah, just running around. What are you guys doing?
We'll see if we can find an invite for you. You and your partner to that one as well. We should do that. Yeah.
30-degree day, I think, on Sunday, so I might head down to Blackrock and try and get a bit of a tan
30
up.
degrees?
Yeah, might head to the beach. Mark, golf?
Women's
footy?
Got golf next 2 days, going down to the Mornington Peninsula for 4 rounds of golf in 2 days. So that should
you love
be
your
good.
golf? God.
I've got to get better at it.
Okay.
So
You were
plenty of
playing
practice.
last week too.
He's a bit of a bandit.
Ease up. We can't all go to restaurants and
this is
Sundays on
true,
the
this is
boats. What
true.
else do we do? Yeah.
I need to learn how to play golf.
All right, if you want more of Mark's stuff, you can head to the Little Birdie shop. It's under AFL Stings. He's doing the AFL women's and all the men's preseason matches for $1.10. It's a crazy price. It's a promotional deal, and then we'll just see how good he is for the preseason, and you guys can make up your own mind if you want to follow him for the rest of the season. He'll be on all the shows here, and similarly for Nick Tedeschi's NRL Mail. Check out the season guide, and he'll be with us for the rest of the season. Have a pro in your pocket to help you bet more responsibly, and when you're betting, bet with topsport.com.au. They take the biggest bets. But that's all from us. Like us, rate us, follow us. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, and we'll add ourselves to the Google Podcast section this week as well. But we're flat out here. The new office is up and about, and I think we're a couple of weeks away from the downstairs lair, the stream room being created. So check out for that. And Darcy, you're going to hold up the winning beer. So a shout out to
the winner.
Yeah, Nick Falconer, who picked the cloud design, and it was the most popular voted beer design. So won by panels.
I did see
so there was
that.
hundreds of votes, and it cleared
It
away.
is very eye-catching.
Yeah, it is eye-catching.
I will say.
And it's very crafty.
Wasn't our first choice.
Wasn't our
No,
first choice.
it wasn't ours, so I was surprised,
actually
but I've come
very
around.
Yeah, I like it. We're
Yeah,
happy
I
with the
like
4 finalists, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm keen on it. Good on the eye.
Yeah, well done, Nick.
Yeah.
Good on the eye
Clouds.
and good on the tongue. So
Look forward to tasting it in a couple of weeks' time, I think.
yeah, we've got a lot of slabs, and I think it's probably late March, early April. So hopefully in time for the Bull, and hopefully we're all allowed to get down to the Bull. But can't wait. They'll be here for AFL season, and we'll catch you next week.